Welcome to this episode of the Sports Detective Podcast Show. My name is James Williams, and today the Dallas Mavericks keep embarrassing themselves trying to defend the Luka Doncic trade. So, as you guys know, since the Luka Doncic trade happened, basically for the last month and a half, the Dallas Mavericks have basically been trying to do damage control on this trade and trying to explain the logic of this trade for the last 6 weeks or so. And they've been people that work for the Mavericks and, you know, the ownership group of the Mavericks, they keep saying stuff on the record and off the record about this trade. Oh, we're trying to win now with Anthony Davis. This is for the short term. We're ready to win now. And then off the record, they're like, we think Luka was a beer drinker, a binge beer drinker, and smoked a bunch of hookah, and we didn't really like him. So they're saying all kinds of things, and they're trying to, I think what they're doing, and I was thinking about this, I've never seen a team try to defend a transaction as much as the Dallas Mavericks have been doing over the past month and a half. Now, part of that is probably because of just the reaction that everybody in the NBA had, and specifically their fans have had of this trade. But I think they keep trying to do damage control and trying to explain it, and it just keeps making it worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And I think probably it's actually a better idea for them to just kind of like sit back in the dark. And then, you know, if you actually believe in the merit of this trade, hopefully over time, you guys would be proven right. But that is not what's happening. And we got, hey, man, they just keep throwing chum in the water. That's what they keep doing. That's what they keep doing. So we got to keep talking about it. I don't want to keep talking about this, but I had to react to this. So Patrick Dumont, who is the owner of the Dallas Mavericks, he was at a speaking engagement. I believe this is recorded in, believe this is from late February, these clips I'm going to show you. So this first one is him trying to basically explain why they traded Luka Doncic, and he makes absolutely zero sense in this. He contradicts himself a few times here. So let's go ahead and just watch this clip of Patrick Dumont talking about the Luka Doncic trade, and we'll kind of cut in a few times too, just kind of like, you know, react to it as it goes. But here we go.
Just going through your mind, how did you frame a decision of such magnitude like this?
So tough decisions are never easy. And part of leadership is looking at risk and looking at all the factors of a decision and being willing to act at that time and look to the long term. And not.
I love how in the first 21 seconds of this clip, he is sucking himself off. You know, the part of making difficult decisions is being a leader. And I'm a leader, and that's why I made the worst trade in NBA history, because that's what leaders do. I'm a leader. And now he's going to talk about long-term success. This trade was actually for the long term.
Not only think about the short term or how it may be received immediately, but to think about the long-term benefits and what it may allow you to achieve if given all the right considerations. And I think for us, going into the trade deadline last year, we were not competitive. If you recall, we were not a playoff-bound team. And we were able to do some things to reconstruct the roster.
Okay, this is where I'll pause here. So this is Ryan Russillo like posted this video and said this is bad. And he's talking about this part here that you just heard him say. The explanation does not make sense. Maybe he means play-in versus playoffs in 2024. But they were the 8 seed and 2 games back of the 5 seed at the deadline. So he's already he's like they were not that far behind. Like, this wasn't like a team that was like 10 games below 500 and they make a trade. Kind of like how the Warriors did it this year with Jimmy Butler, where they were a team that did not look like they're probably going to be like a 10 seed in the play-in and probably get bounced out before the playoffs. So they trade for Jimmy Butler. All of a sudden, since they trade for Jimmy Butler, they've won like 13 out of 14 games or whatever. They were not in that situation.
And enable the team to become very competitive. And after the trade deadline last year, we actually had the best record in basketball, which was a big accomplishment. And we got to the championship games and we didn't win.
He called the finals championship games. Did this guy just start paying attention to the NBA like 2 years ago, bro? He called the finals championship games. And he's like, I don't know. Hey, we made it there. We made it there and we lost. Hey, let's trade the guy that led the NBA in scoring, averaged 33, 9, and 9. Oh my gosh.
And so we had to decide, how do we get better? What can we do to improve our team? And so we looked at
I'm
our
sorry,
trajectory
Mavericks
during the
fans.
season and realized that we did not get better. But the teams that we competed against, some of which we beat, did get better. And ultimately, when you look at the Eastern Conference, after we were to get through the Western Conference, if we're so fortunate, you would have to beat some very formidable teams, including one that we lost to, which actually got better.
You know how you get better? Your 24-year-old superstar gets another year in the pros. The youngish player that you traded for, PJ Washington, gets better chemistry with the players around him. Your center that you guys got in the lottery, Derek Lively, who's not a rookie anymore. Hopefully he takes a step forward. All of these guys that you acquired at the deadline gain chemistry together, learn how to play with each other better. And then you also added Klay Thompson in free agency. So that's how you got better.
So this was a decision about the future. If you look at our roster today and who we have, we feel like we position ourselves to be incredibly competitive against the best teams in the NBA. And if you're a fan of basketball, I'll just throw that out there. You have Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, PJ Washington, Anthony Davis, and either Daniel Gafford or Derek Lively as your
You know who would be really good with those guys? Luka Doncic. I'm sorry.
starting five. That's going to put fear into a lot of teams in the league if we can get going.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Right. And so the objective was, how do we create a roster for the future that allows us to be the most competitive team? I've said it all along. I don't know if you heard what I said when we actually bought the team from Mark, but we want to win championships. We want to be a winning franchise for the city of Dallas. We want to be one of character, one of community involvement, and one where we sort of carry on the legacy of the Dallas Mavericks in the right way.
Oh, we wanted to build a team for the future. That's why we are having our team centered around 32-year-old Anthony Davis and 33-year-old Kyrie Irving. Let's go to the future. Oh my God. Oh my God. You can't make this stuff up, man. You can't make this stuff up. This guy doesn't know anything about basketball. He does it. Now again, it still kind of remains to be seen. If it was actually a Nico Harris doing, or if it was a ownership doing of this trade. Maybe it was a little bit of both. Maybe Nico had the idea, came to them with it, and then they okayed it. Maybe the ownership pushed that on Nico. I don't know. I feel like if the ownership pushed it, maybe we would have heard something. But again, you don't know in this situation. But another thing that was kind of like brought up with this trade and why the Dallas Mavericks might have done it is because, Luka has had it's kind of been a thing with him over his career where he does show up a little bit out of shape and he plays himself into shape throughout the season. And he's due for a monster. I think it's like a $300 million extension. Is it this offseason or the next offseason? I can't remember when he's eligible for it, but that's a big financial decision. So that was something that some people were maybe, thinking, hey, is that why they decided to trade Luka? Is because they're just like, hey, man, we don't know if we want to give this guy $300 million. Like, that's a lot of money. Well, in the same, speaking engagement, Dumont also commented on that. So let's go ahead and listen what he had to say about giving Luka the extension or not. So let's go ahead and watch this clip and then we'll react.
The other thing that people say is, salary cap. I have to tell you something. It was not about the contract. The way the NBA works, there's a salary cap, and it's just a percentage of the cap. So if I could sign 3 max players, I'd do it. It's just a percentage of risk allocation within the team's overall cost structure. So I don't know if anyone from the team hears me, but if you can find us 3 max players, let's go.
Tomorrow.
Let's go.
It wasn't about giving him the max. By the way, it's another example. It's another example of how he doesn't understand how the current day in the NBA is working. If you've noticed in the NBA, what are the teams that are actually doing the most successful? They're the guys that actually have a really deep team. The Cavaliers have a really deep team. They have the best record in the NBA. The Thunder have a really deep team. They have the best record in the West. It's those deep teams that are the teams that are having the most success. The team that has 3 max players right now is trying to get rid of 2 of them this summer, and that is the Phoenix Suns. The Phoenix Suns are the team that has Devin Booker max player, Bradley Beal max player, Kevin Durant max player. That is the team with 3 max players. Dude, you can't make this stuff up, man. Sometimes you can't explain the unexplainable. Like, you just can't. And you guys, you keep making it worse doing these public appearances. You keep making it worse talking to the media and leaking stories and, trying to do damage control. The damage is done, man. The damage is done, and you can't put a Band-Aid on a broken leg or an amputated leg at that. And this is, I'm sorry, Dallas Mavericks fans. And when he talked about earlier, I forgot to mention this, building for the future, building for the future. Do you guys know that the Dallas Mavericks control their draft pick this year in 2025? I believe they control it next year too in 2026. Other than that, from 2027 to 2030, they do not control their first round draft pick. They do not control their first round draft pick. By the way, Kyrie Irving's a free agent this summer, or he could be a free agent this summer. He's going to be coming off an ACL tear, and he's already an older, smaller guard. Anthony Davis, we know about his injury concerns. This could get really dark here for the. Now, I know some of those picks are like protected. I didn't go back and like read all the protections on them, so maybe they'd be able to salvage something from those trading away those picks earlier, man. But hey, Mavericks fans, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. This sucks. This sucks because all of a sudden you went from having one of the, probably one of the better owners in the NBA. I know Cuban had his faults and stuff like that, and who knows what kind of like the organizational kind of like scandals that they're happening towards the end of Cuban's tenure there. But he's a guy that, MFFL, the Mavs fan for life, that wasn't a thing before Mark Cuban came along. And he came along and he stayed loyal with guys like Dirk, maybe made a mistake getting rid of Nash and stuff like that early on in their careers. But, he was a guy that said, hey, he would rather, it's probably more likely that he would get divorced than to trade Luka Doncic. And this new ownership group comes in and gets rid of him in like, 2 years, less than 2 years. You would like for them to just be honest about the trade. Because this isn't honesty. This isn't honesty. Building for the long term, but also the short term, blah, 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 whatever the hell else he said. It's not that we don't want to give him a max contract. It's you guys didn't like him. You guys didn't like him. You kind of thought he was an a-hole. You kind of thought he was entitled. And you're one of those classic NBA owner syndromes where you come in, I have been successful in these other businesses and industries, and I will come in and be the smartest businessman in the NBA. That is what I'll do because I'm smart and I'm smarter than everyone else. And I'm going to make this big, bold decision as soon as I own a basketball team. And that's what you did. And you're realizing very shortly afterwards that it was probably the dumbest trade in NBA history, probably the worst trade in NBA history. This happened with the Phoenix Suns too. Matt Ishbia buys the team in what was it? Was it 2023? I think he bought him in 2023. Immediately, 8 days owning the team, trades away Mikal Bridges, Cam Thompson, and 8,000 draft picks for Kevin Durant. 8 days into owning the basketball team. And then a little bit later, ends up trading for Bradley Beal. I think it was that summer, ends up trading for Bradley Beal. And you know what's happening now? The Phoenix Suns are ready to blow it up. And Ishbia probably shouldn't have done anything and kept that team together. Maybe you get rid of Ayton and try and upgrade that center position. Maybe you have to move on to Chris Paul because he's getting older. But you shouldn't have done anything. You shouldn't have mortgaged your future for a 1-2 year window. And the Suns are paying for it now. And you guys are going to see over the next few years. Again, sorry, Mavericks fans, but the Mavericks are going to be paying for it too, making this absolutely. It's going to go down in history, guys. You go down in history as one of the worst trades in NBA history. I'm sorry, Mavericks fans, once again. All right, that's going to do it for this video here today. If you like this video, please make sure you hit that like button and subscribe if you haven't done so already. It's the number one thing that you can do to help support the show. It costs you absolutely $0. We're at 660 subscribers right now. I'm trying to hit 1,000. Trying to hit that monetization mark. So if you could help me out, get me a sub. Goal right now is to get to 1,000. Probably at the pace we're on right now, best case scenario would be sometime in the summer. So if you can help us speed up that process, subscribe. Would really appreciate it. Again, leave your comment. What do you think about the video? Do you like the video? Do you want me to keep doing videos like this? Do you have any other video ideas on the NBA or other sports that you would like to see me cover? I'd love to hear suggestions. I'm starting to do that now in some of these videos. Give me some suggestions or even teams of people you want me to interview. Like if there's a certain team that you'd want to kind of cover, I can find somebody to do an interview with them. that covers that specific team. So I'd love to do that. I really love interviewing people. So again, feel free to check out other videos on this channel, and we'll talk to you next time. Thank you for watching.